Hi, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and just continuously following us on our journey of making sure that you guys are empowered and have the best quality essential oils and just essential oil infused products. Today, we are going to focus on ways to make sure that our menstruation, our cycles are a little bit more like chill. You know, it's a little bit more easygoing, and that we make sure we get rid of those cramps, or figure out and have our hormones really balanced. For those of you just finding us, my name is Jean Collins, and I do health and wellness and chemical-free living with Young Living essential oils. But it's really beyond that. I do also make sure people really eat organic food and understand how their body works, because our body gives us signs and we just have to learn how to pay attention to them.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm Dr. Allison Johnson, a doctor of Oriental Medicine, and Jean and I both share a love for helping everybody have more vitality and health on every level in their lives and to live a long and healthy life. And yes, as Jean mentioned, today we're going to speak about the menstrual cycle and basically helping ourselves have an easy time through it. I think about, I'm 39 now. I started my menses when I was 11. So that's 12 menstrual cycles times that many years, right? Hundreds and hundreds of periods. And at this point, I'm like, oh my gosh, didn't I know how to, kind of take care of myself before this? And I think I did to a certain extent, but there's always room for improvement. It's like, I occasionally still feel cramps. I have low back pain. I feel tired around my menses. I sometimes still feel irritable, although that has gotten much better. So the essential oils are such a help to help us have just like a lovely transition through a monthly cycle. So you find so many women being like, either I have no problems at all, oh, it's fine, or women on the other end that are like, every day is just one, upswing, downswing, upswing, downswing. It doesn't matter where they are in their cycle. And then you have somewhere in between where it's like the premenstrual time is very difficult. And then the, maybe the menses itself is difficult. So that's a good half of a month, if it's premenstrual time, which is usually about a week, and then your menses are just about a week. So there are definitely things we can do in terms of exercise, in terms of mindset, in terms of body work, in terms of getting away from hormone disruptors in our environment. Those kinds of things are going to help us. And essential oils are an amazing tool to help us transition through our menstrual cycle. So it's not just the major event of the bleeding time. There's different hormonal fluctuations that are going on throughout the entire about a month of cycle. So think about this to yourself. How do you do about mid-cycle? So you may or may not notice that you ovulate, and there may be a little twinging pain, around your ovaries on one side, or you may get a super strong sex drive, which would be kind of natural because that's the time that you would be most fertile. Or you kind of translate that super strong sex drive maybe into feeling super irritable. So it's kind of a similar, kind of energy sometimes. So think about that. Where am I at about mid-cycle? Not every woman ovulates halfway through, but usually that's about when you can start looking for it. There are other things you can look for, like cervical mucus and other things that you can know that you're ovulating. There's even tests you can do to see if you're ovulating. And people do that a lot for fertility, but we could do it just to check, when are we ovulating? And you can check that over time. You can also check your basal body temperature. So you can check that, and then it's like noting to yourself, like, what starts to happen? So for me, it's like a bit of a downslide sometimes between that ovulation time and then the bleeding time. And after the bleeding time starts, I feel better. But that's not true for every woman. Maybe then they start to feel same or worse. But to me, it's that buildup time. So it's like, what is going on there with me emotionally or in my body? And then once I can identify that, then I can say, okay, which essential oil might I try locally on the uterus area, low back area, or even anywhere on my body, because it's going to get taken in. Or Jean's also going to talk about ones you can take internally as well from Young Living, because it's a super high quality essential oil. That's the only ones that we would recommend taking internally. So yeah, so I just want to say, like, check out start to investigate what is my cycle looking like over time, and that's the entire month. And then, if I look at my, essential oils desk reference that you're going to get if you're on our team, or other books, like I've had this one forever. Jean has a bunch other books that she likes to reference as well. It's like, well, if I look at that and I go, well, what are they saying about this? Oh, let me try this one. Let me try that one, and try it out and see. And inevitably it's going to help you. And maybe some are going to help you more than others. And then you'll know, I'm going to use that one.
And that's a really good point about the whole cycle and really looking at certain things. When I was younger, I did have cramps, a lot more issues with that. But I've noticed that more recently, like I still get some signs, sore chest and whatnot, but then I'll be like, oh, well, let me use these oils to help. You can experiment and try what's best for you, or what you have in your starter kit as well. One of the things that I definitely do, because I still sometimes will, like this last month, I did have like a little bit of cramping. It wasn't crazy. I was still able to get things done, but I was like, oh, okay. And I also had a headache as well, which reminds me of the dragon time, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I would use Ningxia Red. What I did is I used Ningxia Red. So like this would probably be the 2 ounces. And I took Indoflex Vitality. So there's an Indoflex Vitality. And remember, Indo is the beginning of endocrine. In a nutshell, it's your hormones. Indoflex is also topically. So you could also try it topically if or you could do both. Or what I did is I did the Indoflex internally, and then I went to Clarity Sage. I think I even did peppermint, which comes in your premium starter kit, because peppermint is really good for muscles in general and the nervous system. And it also has that cooling effect. So those are a few options. Clarity Sage, just awesome for your hormones and as well as your circulatory system. Let's face it, ladies, what we are bleeding. Blood is coming out. Our circulatory system needs support. And the smell, which I thought was cool, is like a calming smell, and it also can help with enhancing dreams. Why not, right? So yeah.
Clary Sage really is like the woman's essential oil. This is such an amazing oil for balancing our hormones, and you can't go wrong with that for sure. And I think the smell is tremendous, and it does enhance my dreams, which I find very fun, makes them more vivid and interesting. So some other ones that I just wanted to mention, and they come from my own experience, but also from this book called The Complete Book of Essential Oils and Aromatherapy by Valerie Ann Warwood. I'm not sure if it's still around, but I bought it at a used bookstore many years ago. So what she mentions for PMS is she kind of breaks it down into like general premenstrual syndrome oils. So you can assume that basically PMS is the disease name or the condition that they give when women are having hormonal issues around their menses. So this doesn't mean you can't take it not premenstrually, which maybe is the first week before you bleed. You could take it any time of your cycle, right? So if you want to balance your hormones at any time during your cycle. Rose is also like a really, really good one for women. So if you invest in rose, particularly if you're the kind of woman who tends to kind of have a hot temper and be a little bit more like that, rose is like the perfect oil for you. And that hot temper is likely to get exacerbated prior to your menstrual cycle. So using real rose essential oil, which Young Living has an extremely wonderful quality of one, that's the one you want to invest in. If you're going to get it cut with jojoba oil that some other companies do, those jojoba oil and stuff, they're wonderful oils, but they will go rancid pretty quickly. And so that rose is then mixed into a somewhat rancid oil, and it's not mixed in at a very therapeutic level, basically. So it's just so much more worth it to invest in buying a bottle of real rose essential oil and using it sparingly yourself. because essentially these essential oils are shelf stable forever the way that they are. They're so pure and well extracted, they're never going to go rancid because they don't have actual oil in them. They're a volatile oil that's been extracted. So yeah, just a plug for that. You definitely buy the quality one. And geranium is sometimes also called rose geranium, but it's a different flower and it's much less expensive than rose. That one's also a really great hormone balance. Bergamot, which I really love, really helps release that tension, especially if you're feeling really, if you're having those tender breasts like Jane was mentioning. If you get that around your menstrual cycle, Chinese medicine wise, it's called liver qi stagnation, and bergamot is like perfect for that. If you get depressed around your menses, bergamot is also really good. It's really uplifting and helps just release tensions and, you know, feel uplifted. And then nutmeg is also a really interesting one here. So nutmeg is a great hormone balancer, and it's mentioned in several places in this book to help. Basically, if you look at essential oils that tend to be more kind of fragrant and luscious, like patchouli, vetiver, nutmeg, those kinds of things, they also tend to be aphrodisiacs, which means it kind of increases your sexual energy. If you think about those kind of oils, those are going to be the ones that are going to help balance your hormones too. So anyway, she talks about violent or aggressive PMS. Maybe we've all had that at some point. Weeping, depressive PMS, irritable, disagreeable PMS, and then apathetic, tired, listless PMS. So just a couple for each category. You've got violent, aggressive PMS. Maybe you want to use the bergamot and the geranium. If you've got the weeping, depression PMS, maybe use bergamot and geranium would also be great for that. Rose you can add into that. Clary sage is applicable anywhere. If you have the irritable, disagreeable PMS, maybe something like chamomile and nutmeg. And then if you have the apathetic, tired, listless PMS, something more like fennel or parsley, she recommends. Again, there's many, many things we could use, but those are some examples of ones that you can use. I'd love to hear what you have to say, Jane, about the ones that you like to use.
We talked a little bit about Clarity Sage, and that is an awesome one for sure. And then I briefly mentioned lavender, and like lavender is awesome. It already comes in your premium starter kit, so if you're already a member, you have it, and you can use that, as well as maybe do frankincense or peppermint. Try those things out, like use what you have. Or and lavender is just like so many uses. We've talked about it a lot because it's like the Swiss Army knife, and it's just a nice floral. It's a lighter floral. But if you're like, oh, I'm on Essential Rewards, I want to add something because I have some of these different PMSs that we're mentioning. Like you have different times when you're like, oh, it's great, and then other times when you're like, I need to be angry with the world or something. then you might want to like check into like Dragon Time. So Dragon Time is a blend from Young Living, specifically formulated for this time of the month. And it's great for just balancing the emotions as well as like alleviating mood swings. It helps with the occasional headache that comes when you have a hormonal imbalance or a menstruation or just imbalancing of the hormones. That I thought was great because I've definitely heard that happen to some people with having an occasional headache whenever they get their period, and that's why not. Dragon Time does that, as well as the hormonal balance. It's perfect. You could use the Sage Vitality internally as well, as Allison, I believe, mentioned sage, and she also mentioned Roman chamomile. That's another one. And there are other blends that we do have, but just to keep it like kind of short, you look in your reference book, use what you have. It's amazing how essential oils work to support us. And then also just pay attention to your body. Like if you, like I kind of mentioned, I and I believe I already mentioned here, but I have snowboarded when I'm menstruating. I have just mountain bike ride, like, but then there's other times when I'm like, I'll still do things, but I can kind of tell that it's a little different or whatnot. But then again, if I feel like I have low energy, I'll drink some Ningxia Red. I'll use some peppermint oil. I'll put citrus fresh in my water so that I have my citrus fresh vitality in my water to help keep me uplifted and positive. But again, this is like, I've been using these products since December 2007, and like, it's like peeling off layers. And I know you could say the parfait, like Shrek was like, why does it have to be an onion in Shrek? But onions do have layers, and peeling back those layers and going through them, and then it's just over time you see like, oh yeah, that doesn't bug me as much. But I definitely did. I used to have really bad menstruation sessions. It was just crazy. But I'm glad that it's just chill now, and I like to keep it that way.
Really want to do the things that help us stay happy and healthy. We actually can do it. And I love that you use the Ningxia Red, because that's wolfberry, or gojitsu, we call it in Chinese medicine. And it actually is in the tonify blood category. So it makes a lot of sense that you would be nourishing your blood, and in doing so, also helping it flow better during that time. So especially women who have very heavy menses where they're losing a lot of blood, Ningxia Red would be extra, extra good for you. So there's that. And then one thing that I love to do premenstrually, I think because your cervix is open, which is the intermediary between your uterus and vagina, during your menses, you probably don't want to take a lot of baths during your menses time, because that cervix is a thing that protects your uterus basically from getting different bacteria and stuff inside of it. So it probably would be better to save your baths for before menstrual time. And that tends to be when you're feeling more crampy and more like maybe low back pain or feeling tired or yuck. So take a bath. And Epsom salts are amazing. So magnesium sulfate Epsom salts. I love to buy them at Costco. They have a really good deal for 2 really big bags for like $7. So I found that to be the best if you're being thrifty, especially, and they're very good quality. And what you want to do with baths is, we typically would just take essential oil and put it into the bath. And the thing with that is that even though it's not an oil like jojoba or olive oil or something, it has oil-like qualities in that it will stay above the water, it will float on top of the water. And also it has in it what's called volatile aromatic oils. And so that's why if we're taking them internally, we don't necessarily want to put them on top of boiling water, because they're just a lot of it's going to evaporate. And so same thing with the bath. So what can we do to still have a lovely essential oil bath that not only smells amazing, but actually is really helping us? So if you're taking a bath with some kind of fragranced bubble bath or even fragranced Epsom salts, it's probably not the real essential oil. And so if you find a fragranced Epsom salt, make sure to look that it says such and such essential oil, not such and such fragrance, okay? So what the Epsom salts can do is they can help the essential oils become more integrated into the bath, and therefore be more beneficial to you and not just get evaporated off or not mix well into the water. So what you want to do is you want to take about a 1/4 cup of Epsom salts. So this would be just for mixing purposes. And then you would add about 5 to 10 drops of the essential oil or essential oils of your choice, basically equaling total about 5 to 10 drops is more than enough. And so then you might put it in something like this, or a glass container would be a little better because plastic will interact with the essential oils a little bit, and then shake it up. And then basically you've got that 1/4 cup that's already got the essential oils in it. So what I would recommend is putting that 1/4 cup into your bath, a 1/4 cup of the mixed essential oils and Epsom salts, but then putting a good 2 cups or maybe even 3 cups more of Epsom salt in your bath to have a truly therapeutic experience with the Epsom salt piece. The essential oil piece is going to be very therapeutic that way, but Epsom salts, your body it will absorb what it needs to of them. And you do need to use a bit more than you might think you need to in order to actually get that muscle relaxing absorption of magnesium into your body.
I love it. It's perfect. Making sure that you're using the oils and just relaxing and having that set tone. A reminder, two reminders. One is like if you had a glass and you had an empty essential oil, you could put that in there and then add the Epsom salt and have a lid and like let it sit overnight, because then you're getting what's left in the glass. The other thing that I realized is we want to make sure that when we're using essential oils and we use a full drop as an adult, you need at least one full drop. The viscosity is thinner or thicker depending on what essential oil and what it comes from. So just be aware that if more than one comes out, if 2 or 3 comes out for an adult, you're not wasting the essential oil. It's fine, but we do kind of prefer the one. Now, sometimes more than 3 is kind of a little bit too much, so your body might not absorb it. So that's kind of why we also say use 1 to 3 drops and then more frequently throughout the day. Like whenever like a cramping comes back on, then put it on again. Like it's just like that repetition of having it with you, and that's why we always carry essential oils with us. But that is it. I think Allison, you did a great job of mentioning that you want to have a just plain Epsom salts, and then you can add in the high quality essential oils from Young Living. I think that's like perfect.
Yay. And if another thing that's like I would love to receive as a gift, and I actually made these for my mom because she loves baths, and I put some essential oils in here, is that, you know, you can make them as gifts for your friends and family, and they're going to love them too. So make sure to use the high quality essential oils from Young Living. And thank you so much for watching today. Check out our other videos that are both on Jean's and my YouTube and our Facebook. You can find me on Immortal Beauty on Facebook and YouTube.
Bye everyone, thanks again.
Thank you, bye.